Hi, I'm Josiah Middaugh. I'm here with Team Synergy. I'm joined by Coach Cal from Canada, and we are interviewing Suzie Snyder today. She's been a long time Xterra professional. And Suzie, where are you speaking from right now?
I'm in Avon, Colorado, down the road from
Just, just down the road. Long time no see.
here. I know.
We just had a hard swim set this morning, so my shoulders are a little sore. How are you feeling?
Pretty tired.
Oh man, I think I should have made you lead this morning.
I was trying not to, but times I was getting in that draft going, oh, better slow down.
Good, good. Holding you back.
Yeah.
Well, tell us. So you're in Avon, Colorado, but you're fairly new to the area. You've obviously been visiting a lot with Xterra Beaver Creek here. But what brought you to the Vail Valley?
Um, well, I lived in Boulder a year and a half before coming up to Avon. And Boulder wasn't really for me. I, never really found my people, kind of clicky and kind of more of a small town girl. And there may be a gentleman up here that I started dating and sort of life, not drive up and down the pass every weekend. And so I figured, yeah, might as well just go up here. I like it better here anyway. So long.
Awesome. Well, it's been a particularly tough winter for training triathlon, but maybe not as tough as what Cal sees every year. But yeah, it's been a challenge for sure. So good job for sticking it out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I would
so
say most people are getting walloped with some interesting weather. I mean, when you even see the recent races, they've had some cold environmental stresses, cold water, cold air temperature, you name it. And Susie, now I've known you for quite a while now, but can you maybe review how many years have you been involved in multisport, or in this particular case, probably more specifically Xterra? Maybe let us know what your history is in this wonderful sport that we're doing here.
Yeah. Well, actually, my first triathlon was Sarah. So right from the get go, with the dirt stuff. So I started in 2003, and mainly because I think I was a junior in college and I was running track and cross country, and I was kind of like, what am I going to do when I leave college? Like, I've always had sport. It was mainly running, track, cross country.
Mhm.
And what I don't know what am I going to do with myself? So I was actually lifeguarding in the summer back in upstate New York, grew up, and we hosted an Xterra at the park. And so helped, set up and prepare all week for, we were out on kayaks and paddle boards during the swim portion and all that. And so I kind of saw the race happen. And then one of my lifeguard buddies was racing, or he had done a couple of races. And he always had these crazy stories, like epic things happening on the mountain portions and like be out. And, it just sounded like it looked like fun. So thought I'd try it. So I jumped in and I I had never mountain biked before. I'd
Wow.
grown up on a bike, but riding on the roads and around the yard on the grass, but not. So I actually talked to the director of that race, and turns out he lived a mile up the road from me, and his wife was pregnant, so she wasn't riding. And he let me borrow her. So I just brought it to the park, and I mean, he had like Shimano SPD pedals on it. I didn't have shoes or anything. I had a bike helmet. So I just
Wow.
put my tennis shoes on top of the pedals and went out. And it was so rocky and rooty and mossy, and I was all I was falling everywhere. But for some reason, I loved it. I just thought it was, I guess, a good challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting that you didn't have that biking background at all. Because would you say that the bike is your strength in your sport? I mean, it seems like you're one of the better technical riders in the sport and one of the more powerful riders in the sport as well. So how long did that take you to pick up?
I think it took a long time. Not something that came easy to me, and I think a lot of times it still doesn't. Like, I still face that, hesitation and like just going for it, natural instinct. So overcoming some of that has been hard for me, but just riding with better athletes is, I think, what helped improve. And um, just being around other pros, riding with like Brandon Rakita kind of taught me how to ride Blood Rock in Alabama. Up until I followed him down through it, I just could not get it. I followed,
Yeah.
I trusted him. I knew that if I just stayed on his wheel and rode exactly where he went, fine. You just had to overcome the. So I think that's been the biggest learning from riders.
Wow, that's great. So, and then all three of us, it sounds like we've all grown up as runners, track athletes type thing. We've all had our struggles with the swim. Suzie, how did your swim evolve? Like, could you swim when you did that first race, or were you a dog paddler or a breaststroker, or what? How did that go down?
Yeah, I was actually a pretty good swimmer. I grew up on a lake out in the country, so
Uh,
I was in the water. My parents threw me in when I was a baby, taught me to swim, and um, lifeguard started lifeguarding in like high school or college. Um, and I was lifeguarding on a lake that was a mile long. So a lot of times we would just go out and swim, when off the chair. And so um, I kind of just developed. Well, I did swim competitively for 1 year as a freshman in high school, a pool, and there was another school nearby that had a pool, but not enough kids that wanted to make a team. So we joined, but then after that 1 year, my school said we're not fussing with that anymore. So
yeah.
that was my 1 year of competitive swimming experience. I just went
Well, that's
in the lake and kind of that was pretty much it. And then yeah, naturally over the years, and I I think my swim improved a lot. Joined the masters team when I lived in Reno,
mhm.
especially when I fractured my pelvis and I couldn't do anything but swim with a pull buoy. After the first like 6 weeks, I could swim with a pull buoy, and I swam like 5 or 6 days a week for like 3 months, and I think that's when my swim really improved the most.
Yeah, so you utilize that opportunity to work on a weakness, obviously, and I don't know how many times a lot of us has expressed a bit of a setback, and we just have to refocus and find something that we can focus on to maybe improve the outcome, the long-term outcome as an athlete. So good for you. Yeah, I didn't know actually, for some reason I didn't know that you broke your pelvis. How did that happen?
Yeah, I went to race Xterra Mexico in 2015, and we are just a group of us were out pre-riding the bike course. It was really kind of a benign fall, like we were down a not real steep hill or anything, but I think that pine needles or leaves or something, and or I don't know. Somehow my front wheel kind of slipped out. I fell and just broke.
Wow.
Josiah was there, and he and Brandon had to like
Ah,
back up the hill. We were in this gated like farmland area, and I couldn't put any weight on my without this searing pain shooting through my body. So I got on my bike, and they pushed me back up the hill to where the
wow.
drove up with a pickup truck to pick me up and take me to the clinic.
Uh,
I was around Mexico on crutches for 4 days.
I
Wow.
remember that day. Brutal.
Yeah.
Oh
No.
man. So let's talk about maybe a better story. So the sport's taken you all over the world. What would you say has been your favorite venue or your favorite race, or maybe one or two of your favorite places that you've been?
I think my favorite, I definitely have two. Um, First one's probably Rotorua because that was like, well, that was the first big race that I won as a pro. So that was 2015. I went as sort of like a birthday. Family were like, "Why don't you go do this right?" You go to go for a while, you know. It looked cool, and um, one of my dad's friends from high school actually lived over there, and he said, I saw him at Worlds, where he said, "Why don't you come over to New Zealand, put you up for the week, and we'll ride the trails. It's so fun," and yada yada. So I went in 2015, and it it was awesome. I mean, it's such a cool place, really cool people, fun to hang out for the week, and the race was awesome. Trails there are just so much fun. Beautiful blue lake, and I won, and that was my first win. So that's kind and
Always
then
memorable.
yeah,
Well,
and then I
and we should say, I'm going to interrupt you here. I should have said this in the intro, but Suzie, you've been five-time national champion in
Yeah.
Xterra, and you've been on the podium at the Xterra World Championship, third place, and you've been on the podium at the ITU Cross Triathlon World Championship. So one of the more accomplished athletes in the sport, and definitely as far as the U.S. is concerned, you've been at the top of your game for a very long time. So sorry to interrupt. There was a
Yeah.
second venue you're talking about?
yeah, I think I love Oak Mountain in Alabama. Just it's such a unique little gem of a park, which you wouldn't expect in Alabama. I mean, I would never, uh, I don't know. I just find it beautiful. First, it's kind of punchy, off and on, up and down, rocky to see. Like, I just like that kind of course. Suits me. I think and my strength better than
Yeah.
say Beaver Creek just climb for an hour.
Yeah. Alabama's got special feelings for me. I hit a tree in Alabama and broke my shoulder, and I didn't even finish that race. So I'm going the other way. I'm staying clear of Alabama, frankly.
Oh, I
And
did break my shoulder there. Crashed. I
there you go.
I shattered my
Alabama.
kneecap in Alabama.
See, Alabama. That's I tell you, you don't know what you're going to get in Alabama. I mean, they don't like Canadians down there, anyways. So, but hey, but Suzie, you've been involved in the sport for, as I said, a couple of decades. But we have a lot of up and coming young females, or in general youth that are starting to get into multi-sport. What maybe through your decades of racing could you give them a couple of tips or advice that you might have learned, or again, if you could transport yourself 20 years into the future or in the past now in this case, what would you tell yourself to have potentially a smoother, better race season? Or like you're so experienced in this, what could you tell that young female that's getting into multi-sport off-road triathlon? What are the gold nuggets that you can let them know?
um I think first of all, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like especially in regard to technique with swimming and mountain biking and skills, because it makes it more fun when you're proficient and you're not afraid of a drop or a rock or something while you're out training. It makes it a lot more fun to go out and train and to not have to worry about like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to ride with that person or that trail. And
Yeah.
it took me so to probably get comfortable on the bike. And a lot of places, like I go to Moab and I'm still pretty uncomfortable, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of ingrained in me. But I have gotten better, and it's taken so long that I think those things are so much easier to learn as a younger person, right? So right off the bat, I'd say, take a mountain bike lesson, get your swim technique analyzed, and just get those skills ingrained from the start. And then that leads to my second one is remember to have fun. Like don't put pressure on yourself. I think there was a point in time where after I had started winning races, I had started putting pressure on myself to win races. And I expected that, and I expected certain performance level. It became fun, and when I kind of stepped back and remembered that I had my best races when I was out there focusing more on the process, that's when I performed better too. So kind of just like, you started doing fun. I'm still doing it 23 years later because it's still fun. And a lot has happened in the middle, but in the end, I still do it because that are there doing it. It's fun to travel with your friends to cool places like Saipan and Belgium and all over. And just don't lose that underlying reason why you do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good message. And looking back at your career, we were talking earlier about the team before we got on the interview about the team that you were on, the women's only team, and how you had a lot of camaraderie there, and also had a lot of messages for up and coming athletes, and so it's going to be great to have you as a part of Team Synergy, and a platform for you to share some of your experiences and wisdom from so many years. How do you see kind of your experience kind of contributing to this Team Synergy that we're building?
Yeah, I think looking back time with Luna, all the girls, I mean, there were a few Xterra triathletes, but Shawnee Van Laningham was one of them, and she was huge with mountain biking and Xterra, and Danelka Bush. There's three of us, and the rest of the team were all mountain bikers, but they were Olympians and world champions, hugely successful women that had been racing so much longer than me and at such a higher level that it was so cool to be able to hear their stories and ride with them and just see how they did things and see how they went through their day when like learn from their mistakes and just all the things that as a young soak up from the people that you look up to because they're successful and experienced, and I hope I have something to teach someone.
You do, for sure, more than you know. So yeah, I think that's what's amazing about the sport is we can all learn from each other, and especially for what I always forget too when we go to some of these races, and a big percentage of the athletes are there for their very first triathlon ever, or at least their very first season ever. So it's just amazing the knowledge base that you don't even realize that you have, and all the experiences, and everybody has to kind of go through those experiences on their own, and if they can get a tip here and there, it can accelerate that learning process so much more.
Yeah, I can see the lineup in the transition area before the race start. Everybody waiting to talk to Suzie about tire pressure and wetsuits, and meanwhile she's going to be scrambling trying to get ready for the pro start. No, but you're right. And that's the concept behind this Team Synergy, is to create that family style of racing. Where we can all help each other out, and again, to have someone like yourself, Suzie, on this team is just so valuable for everyone to have, again, and especially all those young and upcoming females out there getting into the world of multisport. Really exciting to have you on board.
Yeah, I love seeing younger girls on mountain bikes, and all the high school teams, high school girls. Like when I was in Reno, I got a bunch of Strava KOMs and such. Those were kind of my strongest years, but now all the high school girls are stealing them. I get emails, so and so. I'm like, isn't she in high school? Oh, well, that's awesome, you know. So
Yeah, next generation. It's coming up fast.
Yeah.
Well,
they're awesome.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Suzie. It's great to have you on, and we're
Yeah,
looking forward to following you this season and seeing you at some of these races.
yeah, looking forward to a good year.
Awesome.
Thanks, Suzie.
Thanks, guys.